Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's good to see you this morning. I'm wearing a boot. Because I chipped an ankle bone. I was building a treehouse for my grandson, but I'm attaching it to a chicken coop. And when I put the chicken coop, I left a board sticking out, and over a period of 9 years, that board rotted. And I climbed the ladder, stepped on the board, and down I went about 8 feet. And landed on my ankle and chipped the bone. So I've got to wear this thing for about 4 weeks. And my wife said if I climbed another ladder and fell off, I might have a boot in another place I wouldn't do it.
Is your microphone on?
No microphone, thank you, Julie. Okay, any visitors here for the first time who would feel comfortable introducing themselves to us?
Well, they might not feel comfortable, but I want to introduce them for us.
All right.
I am so privileged and honored to have my eldest daughter, Paula, and her wonderful husband, from Louisiana, South Louisiana.
Welcome.
And their girls who are sleeping late with me today.
All
Okay?
right. Good. There you go. Thank you, Jane. Paula and Neil, good to have you. Any other, I don't see any other folks that I don't know. Any announcements? Gretchen? Okay.
First of all, I want to thank anyone who has signed up to be a service helper, either greeter, chalice lighter, or hospitality. Well, I was the one charged with getting people to do such. And a reminder, please show Lynn some love and sign up for her now.
Any other announcements?
Don't forget, we have a service next week, since today is our 5th Sunday service.
Oh, yes, men's group Tuesday. 10 o'clock at Derek's house. This Tuesday, 10 o'clock at Derek's house. Any other announcements? Well, if not, let me open our service with these words from our hymnal. Holy and beautiful the custom which brings us together in the presence of the Most High, to face our ideals, to remember our loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to make confession, to offer forgiveness, to be enlightened, and to be strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of ages, the cathedral music of history, 3 unseen guests of 10, faith, hope, and love. Let all our hearts prepare them place. Our opening hymn is 205, Amazing Grace. And just stay seated and let's sing it together. Amazing Grace 205. Now I turn this off when I sing, when we're singing, so if I forget to turn it back on.
Was blind.
are we good? Okay, good. Big child's play.
Microphone.
Is it on? Yes. On June 26th, 1822, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to Dr. Benjamin Waterhouse expressing his hope that the doctrine of one God would continue to revive in the United States. In the letter, Jefferson wrote, quote, "I rejoice that in this blessed country of free inquiry and belief, which has surrendered its creed and conscience to neither kings nor priests, the genuine doctrine of only one God is reviving, and I trust there is not a young man now living in the United States who will not die a Unitarian."
Thank you, Don.
You can make that up, Bishop.
No.
Would you join with me, please, in our reading? We light this chalice for the light of truth.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace.
I'm glad you're there. Lisa's keeping me in order up here.
Turn on your,
Here in this space, some of us have come in pain. To those who are dealing with issues of health, we pray, we wish for courage and healing. Some have come with joy bubbling in their hearts. May we rejoice together, remembering the wisdom that says joys are multiplied when shared. May we remember gratitude for warmth, thankfulness for sunshine, appreciation for the rain, and a simple taste of whatever food our lives and bodies let us choose. Here in this space, we are called to weave the web of human community. And in the complexities of community, it is right in this space that we pause and hold gently all the concerns, sorrows, joys, named and unnamed, that are gathered in this space today. Please feel free to share a joy, concern, or sorrow if you would like. Raise your hand and Alicia will give you the microphone. And we have one element back there. Alicia.
thank you. So I have a bunch to rejoice about. Friday I retired from my job. So now I can devote my time to what I really care about, which is making the world safer for the kids. And my daughter and granddaughter are coming for the 4th of July. So
Yay.
good.
Yeah.
Barbara in the corner back there.
It's a joy to see Penny's quilt hanging up here. If you have not taken a closer look at it, be sure to. It's self-designed, she did it all, and it was a labor of love and presented to us.
Thank you, Barbara.
I want to share a joy that Anita Wofford is with us again today. If you remember, she came a couple times in April, but her husband Charles had dementia and was ill, and so she could only spend a limited amount of time here. Charles died in May, and it's taken her a couple times to get back, and I'm so glad to see her here.
Okay. Just give her- Thank you, Don.
Well, sometimes it's hard to know where the joys start and the sorrows end. It's good to be here. I've been busy. So some of you know that my family and I moved out last year from California. My wife had a job out here and we have family here. But it led to a wrenching decision, and that is I had to resign from my job in California as a professor for 15 years. After 12 months of somewhat fruitless searching, I finally found a job, which is quite a difference. It's managing a moving company. So just anyone out there looking for a moving company, come and talk to me. The other is that my family and I were able to move into one house after a complicated situation, and that is also a good thing. So again, a lot of changes. Been busy on Sunday, but it's wonderful to be back in the sanctuary with all of you. So thank you.
Very good.
I want to share a joy. I'm going to give you a little background. Y'all, most of y'all have met our daughter. She was on a competitive swim team for 14 years. And she ended up being the swim coach, doing swimming lessons. She got certified as a lifeguard. I tell you all of that just to reinforce that she's a very strong swimmer. This weekend, she's been in Charleston visiting some friends, and they went to the beach yesterday. While they were at the beach, 3 young children got caught in a riptide in front of them. And she jumped in and saved all 3 of them.
Wow.
We were very, very proud of her when she called us and told us about that. And there were 7 children in the group, so she sat them down and explained to them what to do if they ever got caught in a riptide. So we were very proud of her.
Yes, thank you. Any other joys, sorrows, concerns anyone have to share?
I got one. You don't need the microphone. I picked my first tomato yesterday.
Well, let's see, Rob, when you pick 1, 2, 3. We expect a fresh tomato.
Understood.
Any other joys or sorrows? Let's share a moment of silence, and if you would like, lift up the concerns and joys in your prayers, if you pray, or in your thoughts, if you prefer to send positive thoughts. So let's have a moment of silence. I'd like to offer up these words, these thoughts, before we join in our unison reading. This is a prayer from our hymnal. From arrogance, pompousness, and from thinking ourselves more important than we are, may some saving sense of humor liberate us. For allowing ourselves to ridicule the faith of others, may we be forgiven. From making war and calling it peace, special privilege and calling it justice, indifference and calling it tolerance, pollution and calling it progress. May we be cured. We're telling ourselves and others that evil is inevitable while good is impossible. May we stand corrected. God of our mixed up, tragic, aspiring, doubting, and insurgent lives, help us to be as good as in our hearts we have always wanted to be. Amen. Join with me in our reading, our response, our unison response, please. We rejoice together and we grieve together as one. Help us to remember that every human heart holds its own joys and sorrows. Let's continue our service with our offerings. We're going to sing a song, the words not going to get there.
Yeah.
That's a song by John Denver. It's called Sweet Surrender. But I love the words in it because it speaks to what we UUs are about, and that's struggling and journeying. And if you're like me, you don't know where you came from, you're not sure where you're going. But you have a spirit you trust. You feel like you're guided by something greater than just your ego. But anyway, this is Sweet Surrender, and words are up there. We invite you to sing along.
Lost and alone on some forgotten highway, traveled by many, remembered by you. Looking for something that I can believe in, looking for something that I like to do with my life. There's nothing behind me, nothing that ties me about nothing that might have been true yesterday. Tomorrow is open, right now it seems to be more than enough to just be here today. I don't know what the future is holding in store. Don't know where I'm going, I'm not sure where I've been. This spirit guides me, a light that shines for me. Life is worth living, I don't need to see it. Sweet, sweet surrender. Live without care. Like a fish in the water, like a bird in the air. Sweet, sweet surrender. Live without care. Like a fish in the water, like a bird in the air.
I was over at Derek and Becky's the other day. We were playing some songs and the phone rang, and it was John Denver. And he asked us to write him a song. That would be impossible, wouldn't it? We didn't write that song. John Denver. Join with me, please. To the work of this fellowship, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we call community. We dedicate our lives, and these are our offerings. Our responsive reading is number 547. Now blows the wind with soft, relaxing warmth.
The sun beats down, the schools are out.
Children swarm in the playgrounds and the streets, and eager city folks, vacation bound, crowd the broad highways.
The lakes and seashores lose their solitude, and all the world seems turned to carnival.
What of ourselves? There could be now deep peace, a time for soul searching.
We might turn to examine our own lives, sort and grow our tendencies of thought.
Sift the truth from faults and the things of doubt.
Beautiful from ugliness unmarked.
The sun beats down, it's time for pause.
Even the trees seem resting for a time, as if to meditate and gather strength for the more strenuous times that lie ahead.
Shall we not we? Here's the unfinished clay, half molded, that still waits on us.
To think what we have been and as we are, still yet have to become.
Thank you. Now you should know why I chose that reading for this morning. What of ourselves? What of ourselves? A time for deep peace, a time for soul searching. Two of our members are going to share their stories with us this morning. And as you all know, we've set aside, because the board was in approval of this, we set aside the fifth Sundays for a time for members of our community, if they feel so inclined to share their story of how they came to Unitarian Universalism. Most of you in here have come to Unitarian Universalism. We only have one member who's born and raised in the Unitarian Universalist tradition, and that's Sally.
Well, you have, right? So is Ian.
Oh, Ian, that's why you were here. That's why I forgot. Thank you for reminding me. Sally McMillan and Ian. So most of you have come into UU, and so this really Fifth Sunday is just an opportunity, if you'd like. No one has to, and you know that you're not going to have to do it. Barbara shared a couple of weeks ago, and then Don shared his story. And I've asked Terry and Alicia's son to share their stories this morning. But as part of I think to me, that reaches far back into the UU tradition, and that is that your story counts for something. And I would highly recommend for you to learn your story. What is your story? What is your spiritual pilgrimage? How would you tell it? And be able to share that with others if you feel so inclined. You know, in our tradition, it's not one shoe fits all. We don't expect people to tell their story in such a way that it will fit this religion or that religion, or we embrace diversity, and we cherish our diversity. We cherish religious pluralism, and in that sense, you can tell your story with freedom, and you don't have to be afraid that you might say something that would offend anyone, unless it's some kind of hate speech, which I don't think we find in Unitarian Universalism anyway. But I found this quote several weeks ago, reading excerpts from a book called The Importance of Living. And it's by Lin Yutang, and I want to quote that. It was in the newsletter. Don put it in the newsletter, but if you didn't happen to read it in the newsletter, I want to read it to you again, because I think it's very important that we understand this as Unitarian Universalism, because it's really core to who we are. Religion is always an individual, personal thing. Every person must work out his or her own views of religion, and if he or she is sincere, God will not blame him or her however it turns out. Every man or woman, woman's religious experience is valid for him or her. For as I have said, it is not something that can be argued about. I can't tell you that your experience is wrong. You know what I mean? I inserted that. That's not the quote. Sorry about that. Here it is. But the story of an honest soul struggling with religious problems, told in a sincere manner, will always be a benefit to other people. Now I'm going to read that again. The story of an honest soul struggling with religious problems, told in a sincere manner, will always be a benefit to other people. This is why in speaking about religion, I must get away from generalities and tell my personal story. Again, that's Lynn Utane, Ports of Living. Okay, I'm going to get out of the way and give Terry some time to speak, and then when Terry's done, Alicia will have her time. So Terry?
Okay. Hey,
Gotta push the button, so it's
I don't think I need a microphone. Do I need a microphone?
Can you hear him back there, Barbara, okay? Can you hear him?
Can you hear me okay? The reason I went with this congregation is because y'all are open and tolerant. And I haven't believed in a myth, what I call a myth, since I was 14 years old. And I was raised in the Baptist tradition. My daddy was a deacon for 50 years. And I don't believe a thing that, that they profess. I believe if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. And the reason I say that is because any meaning that comes from outside is no meaning at all. It has to come from inside to be real. I've got, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. The Zen master says, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. This admonition points up that no real meaning comes from outside of ourselves is real. No meaning that comes from outside of ourselves is real. The Buddhahood of each of us has already been obtained. We need only recognize it. Philosophy, religion, patriotism are all empty idols. The only meaning in our lives is what we bring to them. Killing the Buddha on the road means destroying the hope that anything outside of ourselves can be our master. No one is any bigger than anyone else. There are no mothers or fathers for grown-ups, only brothers and sisters. Only brothers and sisters. No mothers or fathers, only brothers and sisters. We must each give up the master without giving up the search. If no one is really bigger than anyone else, to whom can a man turn? If we are equally weak and equally strong, as good and as bad as one another, then what is left to us? We must learn that each of our lives itself become a spiritual pilgrimage. An exiled searching without end. Our only comfort on this lonely journey is that for each man it is the same. One size fits all. I rebelled against that. I was losing hope, and I found y'all. One size doesn't fit all. And that's the message that you get in the Presbyterian, the Baptist, the Methodist Church, the Lutheran Church, the Episcopal Church, the Catholic churches. One size does fit all. If you accept the myth, you have salvation. And that is not the truth. The truth is that I must learn to love everybody, even the most despicable people. And they are hard to love. Trump and all of his supporters are hard to love. But I'm working on it. And I will be working on it till the day I die. Therefore, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Is by Sheldon Kopp. K-O-P-P. K-O-P-P. That's all.
Gosh, Terry, that's a hard act to follow. I, too, was a Baptist. Some of y'all know the story. I actually grew up in Landrum. And if you're familiar with Landrum, right on the main street in the middle of the town is First Baptist Church of Landrum. And I started going to the First Baptist Church of Landrum when I was 6 weeks old. I was on a cradle roll. And I moved up through all kinds of things. I was in Sunbeams, I was in Girls Auxiliary, I was in Act Teens, I was in the youth group. We went on Sunday morning, we went on Sunday night. Sometimes we went on Wednesday night, but not every week. I was in the youth group that we did these elaborate musicals, and we'd go around to other churches and perform these musicals. There were about 60 people in our group. I went to Bible school every year up until the 9th grade, and then I started teaching Bible school after that. I went to church camp every summer. So I had that Baptist indoctrination. But I was a little bit precocious growing up, and so I can remember a couple of times at Bible school asking questions. For example, we'd get the question about, we'd get the story about Jonah and the whale, and I asked the question, how come the whale didn't digest Jonah when he was in his stomach? And our Bible school teachers, they didn't like questions like that. You know, they wanted you to hear the story and just go with it. And then as I got a little bit older, I realized that there was a big, big focus on making contributions to the missions program. Within our Baptist church, nothing could be more exalted than to say you were going to be a missionary, and you were going to go to Africa, or you were going to go to China, and you were going to tell people about Jesus. And I asked a question one time about, so if nobody hears about Jesus, what happens to them? And I was told they go to hell. And I thought, I just don't know that I think that's right. But again, I'm not going to question that because, you know, I'm a good Baptist girl. So I graduated from high school, and as soon as I graduated, I left Landrum because I thought, I got to blow this popsicle stand. And I went to college. I lived in a dorm that had more people than lived in the town of Landrum. So it was a big adjustment. And the first Sunday I was there, I thought, well, I got to find a church. I got to go to church. It's Sunday morning. And I noticed that none of my dorm mates were jumping up to go to church. And I thought, well, you know, maybe I could skip this Sunday. And so I did. And I did not burst into flames because I did not go to church on that Sunday morning. So I thought, well, this is not such a bad deal. So I kind of stopped going. The only time then I would go to church is if I came home for the holidays and we'd go to church. Then finished college, moved out of state, started looking for another church, went to a few Baptist churches, but it just, you know, it just wasn't speaking to me. So again, I just didn't go. Came back to South Carolina, went to graduate school. My first job out of graduate school, I thought, okay, I've got to find a church now. I start going to churches, and it was very interesting. By this time, I'm well into my 20s, and I started going to some Baptist churches to visit, and it was very interesting because none of those Baptist churches were very welcoming to a single woman. They were very welcoming to families, I noticed, but not welcoming to single women. Well, it was a Sunday morning. I was headed out to visit another Baptist church, and I drove past an Episcopal church that was just getting ready to start. So I thought, you know, I've never been in an Episcopal church. I'm going to jump in here and see what this is all about. So I did, and they were very welcoming. So I ended up going to an Episcopal church and did that for quite a long time. When I met Tom, he had started going to an Episcopal church because he was a Reformed Catholic. So it kind of made sense for us. We went to the Episcopal church together. We got married in an Episcopal church. But even as we progressed through that, I started feeling like it's just not for me. And one of the reasons I felt like things were not for me in both the Baptist church and the Episcopal church was this focus on pray for the right thing. Pray for God to tell you what to do. Everything is in God's plan. God is not going to give you anything that you can't handle. And I got a little bit tired of hearing these things about God's plan. And the reason I got tired of hearing that is because I would look around and see people, wonderful people, good people, who had deep tragedies in their life. And I just could not believe that it was God's plan for somebody to suffer. Now, I know that that goes against a lot of tenets in churches that suffering helps to make you a better Christian, but I just did not believe that that was the way God wanted things to be. So I really started having quite a struggle and quite a conscience of faith. You know, how was I going to deal with things? How do I go from being this extreme Baptist to a pretty extreme Episcopalian to just floundering because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started looking around. I had some friends in the Columbia area who went to the Unitarian Church, and they had mentioned to me a couple of times, you ought to go, I think you'd really like it. But we just never did for whatever reason. So a couple of years ago, I started thinking about, I think I would like to check out the Unitarians. So I looked it up, and this was when the group was meeting at the depot. So my first visit was at the depot. And I just felt like I had found my group. I had found my nest, so to speak, and it felt very, very comfortable to be with this group of people and to know that lots of people were here because they had struggles with faith and had a lot of the same thoughts that I had. And so it was a very welcoming and a very comforting experience. Now, I will say that I envy people who have a very deep evangelical approach to faith sometimes, because I see them absolving themselves of responsibility for their decision-making and for things that happen in their lives, because they say, oh, well, this is God's will. Well, I prayed on this and God told me I needed to do that. And I think, in some ways, that's a good place to be, because you don't have to worry about making any kind of decisions for yourself, because you're given that decision-making responsibility to your higher power. But I'm not there, you know, I'm just not there to be able to say that God is making all these decisions for me, because I have free will, I have the ability to make my own decisions and to live with the consequences of those decisions. But one of those decisions that I made was coming to the Unitarian Fellowship and feeling very positive about it and getting my husband to come with me. So that's my YouTube journey.
Thank you, Terry and Alicia. Before we wrap things up, let's see what time we have here. We've got a little bit of time. Does anyone have any questions for either Terry or Alicia? Or not just questions, but comments or queries?
I have a question for Terry. Terry, how did you find out about this Unitarian church? How?
I just, well, we're riding around.
Okay. I was curious.
Just happened to see it, yeah. Alicia, how did you find out about us?
I think I saw it in the Tri-Biblical, I think. I'm not sure.
Any other questions, comments, or queries for our speakers? Anybody have?
My comment is, being here for 30 years, I know that the first time I knew about the Unitarians was Joe, who owned the paint store here in Landrum. He was a very active Unitarian, and he would drop his magazines off at the Tryon Post Office at the recycling magazine section. So years ago, I would pick up the magazine, because we were going to the Congregational Church, and I would pick up the magazine. So just those little things like that mean so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Alicia and Terry, for sharing. You'll get a call from me as I begin planning for, I think September is our next month with 5 Sundays in it, asking if you'd like to share. Several people I've talked to have said that they would prefer not to, and that's perfectly fine. No one has to share a story. But be thinking about that if that's something you think you'd like to do. You don't have to be a member of this congregation. If you've been a visitor, visiting for a while, and you want to share, that's fine too. So, we're going to sing a song for you here. In our closing, it's a James Taylor song, Shower the People.
what they say about me. Always getting the praise. Shower the people with love, with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna work out fine if you only will. Shower the people with love, with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. Shower the people with love, with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna work out fine if you only will. Shower the people with love, with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will.
Again, thank you all for being here this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and stay cool. If you know a river or a creek, jump in, just jump in. I want to end with this reading from T.S. Eliot. It's in our hymnal. If you want to read along, it's number 685. I'll read it, and you just read along if you'd like. 685, T.S. Eliot. What we call a beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration. You just heard that this morning with those stories. We will not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Can I hear an amen?
Amen.
Whoa, that is. Thank you. Does anyone have any, before we, there's refreshments over here for all of you and visitors if you want to stay with us and chat. Before we leave, does anybody have anything they'd like to add, subtract, or whatever? If not, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next Sunday here for Derek's talk. Have a great day.